The steady hum of servers filled the room as Cal Harding sat at his desk, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. At 42, he'd built TechCore Solutions from nothing into a multimillion-dollar enterprise. Tonight, however, his attention wasn't on quarterly reports or client meetings. His eyes were fixed on a folder that shouldn't exist. "What the hell is this?" he muttered, double-clicking on a video file labeled Instructions. The screen flickered to life, and his wife Bethany's face appeared. Her usual warm smile was replaced by something cold and calculated. She was speaking to someone off camera. "Remember what Mommy told you, sweetie? If anyone asks questions, especially the police, you tell them Daddy hits you." Bethany's voice dripped with poison. "The more you cry, the better. Judges love tears." Cal's jaw clenched as he watched his daughter Maisie's uncertain face appear in the frame. "But Daddy doesn't hit me," Maisie protested, her small voice trembling. "This is just pretend, baby. Like acting in your school play." Bethany's voice took on a sickeningly sweet tone. "And once Daddy's gone, Duke will buy you that iPhone you wanted. Won't that be nice?" Cal's hand curled into a fist, his knuckles white against his desk. The betrayal churned in his gut like acid. He'd found the videos while setting up Maisie's new tablet, connecting it to their family cloud storage. A simple father-daughter moment had unveiled a conspiracy that made his blood run cold. "You stupid, greedy bitch," he whispered, his voice razor-sharp in the empty office. He opened another video. This one showed Bethany coaching Maisie on specific details: times, dates, locations. She was crafting a narrative designed to destroy him, using their daughter as her weapon. Cal pulled up his secure terminal and began creating encrypted copies of the videos. His fingers flew across the keyboard, muscle memory from years of coding taking over while his mind raced. Each copy was stored in a different location, protected by layers of security that would make government agencies envious. "Mr. Harding?" His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your wife called. She's asking if you'll be home for dinner." Cal pressed the response button, his voice steady despite the rage coursing through him. "Tell her I'll be there in an hour, Sarah. And clear my schedule for tomorrow morning." He turned back to his screen, documenting everything he'd found. Cal had grown up watching his mother work double shifts at the diner, scraping by after his father abandoned them. He'd sworn never to be that kind of man, never to let his family down. Now his wife was trying to paint him as something even worse. The irony wasn't lost on him. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in months. After 3 rings, a gruff voice answered. "Silas Investigations. It's Cal Harding. I need your services again." Discreetly. The wife. "Yes. I want everything. Where she goes, who she meets, what she spends. And I need info on someone named Duke. He's in real estate." "Damon Duke Riley?" Cal's eyes narrowed. "You know him?" "Let's just say you're not the first husband to call about him. I'll send you my updated rates. Money's not an issue. Just get me what I need." Cal ended the call and leaned back in his chair. He thought about the late-night texts he'd seen on Bethany's phone months ago, the ones he'd chosen to ignore. His wife had mistaken his patience for weakness. A costly error. He pulled up his contact list and selected another number. The line rang twice. "Jasper Thorne speaking. Jazz, I need you in my office first thing tomorrow. Bring the divorce paperwork we discussed last year." A pause. "You found something?" "Oh, I found something all right. You're going to want to see this personally." "That bad?" "Worse." Cal's voice was cold. "She's trying to frame me for abuse. Using Maisie." A sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Jesus Christ. I'll be there at 8. Cal stood up, gathering his things. He had a dinner to attend, a performance to put on. Bethany would never see him coming. He'd learned long ago that revenge, like success, required patience. He drove home in his black Tesla, his mind already mapping out the next several moves. The house was lit up when he pulled into the driveway, warm light spilling onto the manicured lawn. A picture-perfect scene for a picture-perfect lie. Inside, Bethany was setting the table, her blonde hair falling in artful waves around her shoulders. She looked up with a bright smile that made Cal's stomach turn. "There you are. I was starting to worry." She walked over to kiss him, and it took everything in him not to recoil. Maisie, Daddy's home. Their daughter came running down the stairs, and Cal felt his heart constrict. She threw herself into his arms, and he hugged her tight, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Did you get my tablet working, Daddy? All set, Princess. It's charging in your room. He set her down, maintaining his usual warm smile. Why don't you go wash up for dinner? As Maisie ran off, Bethany wrapped her arms around his waist. You work too hard, honey. You should delegate more. Cal returned her embrace, playing his part. Maybe you're right. How was your day at the shelter? Oh, same old. So many animals needing homes. She turned back to the kitchen. I made your favorite, beef stroganoff. You spoil me, he replied, watching her walk away. The shelter was her cover story, her alibi for afternoons spent with Duke. He wondered how long she'd been planning this, how many months or years she'd been laying the groundwork for his destruction. Dinner was a masterclass in deception. Bethany chatted about neighborhood gossip, while Maisie talked about school. Cal responded appropriately, laughed at the right moments, all while imagining the look on his wife's face when her world came crashing down. After Maisie was tucked in, Cal poured himself 3 fingers of scotch and stood in the kitchen, staring out at the city lights. Behind him, Bethany loaded the dishwasher, humming softly. I was thinking, she said, closing the dishwasher door, maybe we could take a family vacation soon. Maisie's been asking about Disney World. Cal took a slow sip of his scotch. Sounds nice. Why don't you look into some dates? Really? She beamed at him. You're usually so busy with work. Family comes first, he said, raising his glass slightly. Always. Later that night, as Bethany slept beside him, Cal lay awake, his mind working through contingencies. He thought about the signs he'd ignored, the red flags he'd dismissed. His wife had underestimated him, assumed his devotion to their family meant he was weak. She would learn just how wrong she was. In the morning, he would begin dismantling her carefully constructed plan. He would strip away her resources, expose her lies, and make sure she lost everything. Duke, too. Cal had dealt with corporate raiders and hostile takeovers. This would be no different. Just business, executed. He turned his head, studying Bethany's peaceful expression in the darkness. She had no idea what was coming. Good. He wanted her to feel secure, confident in her scheme. It would make her fall that much harder. Cal closed his eyes, his decision made. There would be no mercy, no second chances. Bethany had chosen her path, and now she would face the consequences. He would protect Maisie, preserve his legacy, and make sure his wife regretted ever thinking she could destroy him. The game was set. Now it was time to play. Chapter 2. The Serpent's Embrace. Morning light streamed through the windows as Cal prepared breakfast, the kitchen filled with the aroma of coffee and bacon. He'd always been an early riser, a habit formed during years of startup grind. Today, it served a different purpose. Pancakes, Maisie exclaimed, bouncing into the kitchen in her school uniform. With chocolate chips? Coming right up, Princess. Cal poured batter onto the griddle, carefully arranging chocolate chips into a smiley face. Did you pack your homework? Yes, Daddy. She climbed onto a stool at the counter. Is Mommy taking me to school today? She's got her volunteer work, remember? I'll drop you off on my way to the office. Bethany appeared in the doorway, already dressed in designer jeans and a silk blouse. Her makeup was flawless, her hair perfectly styled. Everything about her screamed sophisticated housewife. Morning, loves. She kissed Maisie's head, then Cal's cheek. The shelter called. They're short-staffed today. I might be there longer than usual. No problem, Cal replied, sliding a plate of pancakes toward Maisie. I'll handle pickup too. Bethany's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then quickly tucked it away. Thanks, honey. You're the best. Cal noted the slight flush in her cheeks, the way her fingers lingered on her phone. Another message from Duke, no doubt. He wondered if she was meeting him at his penthouse or one of his development properties. After dropping Maisie at school, Cal drove to his office building downtown. Jasper was already waiting in the lobby, his briefcase in hand. They rode the elevator in silence, both men knowing the gravity of what was to come. Cal's office was a testament to his success. Modern furnishings, state-of-the-art technology, and views of the city skyline. He closed the door and activated the privacy screens on the windows. "Show me," Jasper said, setting his briefcase on the conference table. Cal pulled up the videos on his secure terminal. Jasper watched without comment, his expression growing darker with each passing minute. When the last video ended, he let out a long breath. "This is beyond dirty, Cal. She's not just trying to take you for everything. She's trying to put you in prison." "I know." Cal leaned against his desk. "What are my options?" Jasper opened his briefcase, pulling out several folders. "First, we document everything. These videos, any communications between them, financial records. We build an airtight case showing premeditation. Already started. I've got copies secured in multiple locations." "Good." "Next, we separate finances. Quietly freeze joint accounts, transfer assets. She's probably got her own stash built up, but we can limit the damage." Cal nodded. "What about Maisie? These videos are gold. No judge will look kindly on a mother coaching her child to make false abuse allegations. We file for emergency custody the moment we move against Bethany." "And Duke?" A predatory smile crossed Jasper's face. "Damon Riley? That arrogant bastard's been skating on thin ice for years. My firm's had run-ins with him before. Give me a week to dig into his dealings." "I want everything," Cal said, his voice hard. "Every skeleton, dirty deal, woman he's burned. When we move, I want total destruction." "You'll have it." Jasper began laying out documents. "Sign these. They'll get the ball rolling on asset protection and start the investigation process." Cal signed where indicated, his signature sharp and decisive. "How long until we're ready to strike?" 2 weeks, minimum. We need ironclad evidence of the affair, documentation of her activities, and a complete picture of Duke's vulnerabilities. Make it 3. I want this perfect." They spent the next hour going through strategy, timing, and contingencies. When Jasper left, Cal called Silas. "I need you to focus on Duke's properties first," he instructed, "especially the new development on River Street." "Already on it," Silas replied. "Interesting pattern of visitors at odd hours." "You want photos?" "Everything. And I mean everything." Cal spent the rest of the morning in meetings, playing his role as CEO while his personal life underwent covert warfare. Around noon, his phone buzzed with a text from Bethany. "Running late at shelter. Can you grab dinner with Maisie? Love you. Red heart." He typed back a quick affirmative, then pulled up the tracking software he'd installed on her phone. The location showed her at the Grand Hotel downtown. Duke's latest project. His phone rang again. "Silas, you're going to want to see this," the investigator said without preamble. "Just sent you some files. Looks like your wife's not the only married woman in Duke's rotation." Cal opened his email, scanning through the attached photos. Duke with various women, all following the same pattern. Expensive restaurants, hotel meetings, gifts of jewelry and cars. "He's got a type," Silas continued. "Bored housewives with wealthy husbands. Gets them hooked on the lifestyle, then uses them to access their husband's resources. Keep digging. I want to know about his finances, his partners, everything. Already found some interesting irregularities in his development companies. Lot of cash moving through shell corporations." Cal's eyes narrowed. "Money laundering? Looking that way. Want me to push harder on that angle?" "Yes." "And Silas? Money's no object. Whatever you need to get concrete proof." He ended the call and leaned back in his chair, processing the information. Duke wasn't just a homewrecker. He was a criminal using women as pawns in his schemes. Cal wondered if Bethany knew what she was really involved in, or if she was just another mark. That evening, he took Maisie for burgers and ice cream, listening to her chatter about school and friends. Looking at her innocent face, his resolve hardened. She deserved better than a mother who would use her as a weapon. "Daddy," she said suddenly, "why does Mommy want me to say bad things about you?" Cal's heart stopped for a moment. He set down his burger and looked at his daughter carefully. "What do you mean, Princess?" Maisie pushed her fries around her plate. "She says I need to practice saying stuff, but I don't want to." "You don't hurt me." "No, I don't." He reached across the table and took her small hand. "And I never will. Sometimes, Sometimes grown-ups do bad things because they're confused or angry. But that's not your fault, okay? She nodded, but her eyes were troubled. Is Mommy confused? Yes, baby. She is. Cal squeezed her hand gently. But I promise you, everything's going to be okay. You just keep being honest, all right? Okay, Daddy. That night, after putting Maisie to bed, Cal sat in his home office reviewing the files Silas had sent. Photos, financial records, witness statements. The picture they painted was damning. Duke Riley wasn't just having an affair with Bethany. He was systematically destroying families for profit. Cal heard the front door open around 10. Bethany's heels clicked on the floor as she made her way upstairs. A few minutes later, she appeared in his office doorway, her cheeks flushed. "You're still up," she said, smiling. "Busy day?" "Always is." He looked up from his computer. "How was the shelter?" "Exhausting. So many new cases." She came over and massaged his shoulders. "Coming to bed soon?" "Few more emails to handle." She kissed his cheek. "Don't work too hard." As her footsteps faded, Cal pulled up the hotel security footage Silas had acquired. There was Bethany, entering the Grand at 1 p.m. Duke arrived 10 minutes later. They didn't leave until 9:30. Cal closed his laptop, his expression cold. Soon, very soon, they would both learn the price of betrayal, and he would make sure that price was steep. Chapter 3. The Web Titans. 3 weeks passed like a carefully choreographed dance. Cal maintained his routine, breakfast with Maisie, days at the office, and evenings pretending everything was normal. Behind the scenes, his web of surveillance and investigation grew tighter by the day. "We've got something big," Silas announced during their weekly meeting in a discreet coffee shop downtown. The former FBI agent slid a thick manila envelope across the table. "Duke's not just laundering money. He's running a sophisticated fraud operation through his development projects." Cal thumbed through the documents, his expression hardening. "Explain." "He's inflating construction costs, pocketing the difference through shell companies. But here's the kicker." Silas leaned forward, lowering his voice. "He's using his affairs as cover. Each mistress is connected to someone with money or influence. Your wife? She's not the first spouse he's tried to weaponize against their husband. Evidence? All there. Bank records, corporate filings, witness statements from 3 other women, plus surveillance photos linking him to known criminal elements." Cal closed the envelope. "What about Bethany's activities?" "Daily meetings at the Grand, sometimes twice. She's withdrawn nearly $50,000 from your joint accounts over the past month. Small amounts, trying to stay under the radar. Let her." Cal's voice was ice. "Every transaction is more evidence." Back at his office, Cal reviewed the growing file of evidence with Jasper. His lawyer whistled low as he examined Duke's financial records. "This is federal-level fraud, Cal, SEC violations, tax evasion, possibly RICO." One anonymous tip to the right authorities. "Not yet." Cal shook his head. "We wait until we have everything. I want them both to feel completely secure before we strike." Speaking of which, Jasper pulled out another document. "Bethany made an interesting move today. She tried to get Maisie's school to restrict your access to her records. Claimed she had concerns about your behavior." Cal's fingers dug into his armrest. "And school refused without a court order. But it shows she's actively laying groundwork for her plan. Time to talk to Maisie then." That evening, Cal sat with his daughter in their backyard treehouse, her favorite spot for serious conversations. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. "Honey, has Mommy been asking you to do more practice sessions?" Maisie pulled her knees to her chest. "Sometimes, when you're at work. She gets mad if I don't say it right." "Say what right?" "About you being mean." "But you're not mean, Daddy." Tears welled in her eyes. "I told her I don't want to lie anymore." Cal wrapped an arm around her small shoulders. "Listen to me carefully, Princess. What Mommy's asking you to do is wrong. It's okay to tell the truth, always. No matter what anyone says, even if she gets angry. Even then, you're being very brave, and I'm so proud of you." He kissed the top of her head. "Things might get a bit complicated soon, but I promise I'll always protect you." Later that night, Cal received an encrypted email from his tech team. They'd successfully breached Duke's private server, uncovering years of correspondence, including recent exchanges with Bethany. The emails were damning. Detailed plans to frame Cal, discussions about asset division, even speculation about how to manipulate the media once charges were filed. Duke had coached Bethany through every step, clearly following a playbook he'd used before. Cal forwarded everything to Jasper, then began composing a new email to his board of directors. He needed them prepared for the storm that was coming. His company, his life's work, would not be collateral damage in Bethany's schemes. A soft knock at his office door interrupted his typing. Bethany stood there in silk pajamas, looking concerned. "You've been working late a lot," she said softly. "Is everything okay at the company?" Cal gave her a reassuring smile. "Just some complex deals in the pipeline. Nothing to worry about." She came over and perched on his desk. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right? We're partners." It took every ounce of control not to laugh in her face. Instead, he reached up and touched her cheek. "I know, honey. You're always so supportive." Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Another message from Duke. No doubt. She didn't check it, but Cal saw the momentary tension in her shoulders. "Don't stay up too late," she said, kissing his forehead before leaving. Cal turned back to his computer, pulling up the latest surveillance photos. There was Bethany, entering Duke's office that morning. Another shot showed them having lunch at an intimate restaurant. A third captured them in an embrace in the parking garage of the Grand. He opened his bottom drawer and took out a shot of scotch, savoring the burn. Everything was almost in place. His technical team had backtraced Duke's financial networks. Silas had compiled comprehensive surveillance records. Jasper had prepared all the necessary legal documents. Soon, very soon, he would spring the trap. But first, he needed one final piece of evidence. Proof that would make their destruction absolute and irreversible. The next morning, as he made Maisie's breakfast, his phone pinged with an alert. Bethany had just made another withdrawal from their joint account, $15,000 this time. He smiled, knowing each transaction was another nail in her coffin. "Daddy," Maisie called from the table, "can we go to the park after school today?" "Of course, princess." He set a plate of French toast in front of her. "Anything for you." Because soon, he knew, her world would change forever. But he would make sure she emerged stronger, protected from the manipulations of a mother who saw her only as a pawn. Cal watched his daughter eat, his resolve hardening with each passing moment. The endgame was approaching. Bethany and Duke had no idea that their own actions had sealed their fate. They thought they were the hunters, but soon they would learn what it truly meant to be prey. In his office that afternoon, Cal reviewed everything one final time. The evidence was overwhelming, the strategy perfect. There would be no escape, no mercy, no second chances. They had chosen to betray him, to use his daughter as a weapon against him. Now they would learn the true meaning of consequences. Cal closed his laptop, a cold smile playing at his lips. Act 1 of this drama was drawing to a close. The pieces were in place, the players unknowingly positioned exactly where he wanted them. Soon, very soon, the real show would begin. And when it did, Bethany and Duke would learn that they had made the biggest mistake of their lives in underestimating Caleb Harding. Chapter 4. The Fall from Grace. The Grand Plaza Hotel buzzed with the quiet energy of wealth and influence. The annual Real Estate Development Association Gala filled its opulent ballroom with the city's elite. Women in designer gowns and men in tailored tuxedos mingled, their laughter mixing with the soft classical music. Bethany stood near the champagne fountain, her hand resting on Duke's arm as he regaled a group of investors with tales of his latest development project. Her red silk gown caught the light of the crystal chandeliers, making her sparkle like the future she thought she deserved. "The River Street complex will revolutionize downtown living," Duke proclaimed, his white teeth flashing. "We're talking luxury condos, high-end retail." The ballroom doors opened. Conversations halted as Caleb Harding strode in, flanked by Jasper Thorne and a man most didn't recognize. Cal's black tuxedo and steel-cold expression commanded attention without effort. Bethany's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "Security," Duke called out, his fake tan unable to hide his sudden pallor. This is a private event. Cal raised his hand, silencing the room. Good evening, everyone. I apologize for interrupting, but I have some information the association's board should hear. His voice carried across the stillness. Especially concerning one of your most prominent members. Cal, Bethany stepped forward, her voice trembling. What are you doing here? He ignored her, nodding to Jasper, who connected a laptop to the room's presentation system. The giant screens that had been showing elegant event graphics now displayed a video. Bethany's voice filled the room. If anyone asks, say Daddy hits you. Cry a lot. Judges love that. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Duke tried to push through the gathering audience, but Silas, Cal's investigator, blocked his path. That's my wife, Cal announced, his voice razor-sharp, coaching our 10-year-old daughter to make false abuse allegations. Part of her plan to destroy me and take everything I've built. He turned to face Duke. With help from her lover, of course. The video changed to surveillance footage of Bethany and Duke entering various hotel rooms, timestamps marking their meetings. Then came the financial records, wire transfers, shell companies, money trails that made several accountants in the crowd murmur in recognition. Mr. Riley here isn't just sleeping with married women, Cal continued. He's using them to access their husbands' resources while running one of the largest real estate fraud schemes this city has seen. Duke lunged forward. You're lying. This is slander. Is it? Cal pulled out his phone and pressed a button. Duke's phone rang immediately, displaying a number he clearly recognized. His face went ashen. That's your private line, isn't it? The one you use for your offshore accounts. Cal smiled, but it held no warmth. Amazing what good hackers can access these days. The room erupted in chaos. Board members huddled together, pointing at the financial documents displayed. Women who had been charmed by Duke now backed away, whispering behind their hands. Several people had their phones out, recording everything. You can't do this, Bethany hissed, grabbing Cal's arm. I'll tell everyone what you really are. Cal looked down at her hand, then back at her face. Like you taught our daughter to do? He raised his voice. Tell them, Bethany. Tell them how you planned to send me to prison so you could live off my company's assets with your lover. She recoiled as if struck. Around them, phones flashed as the city's elite captured her shame. The FBI is very interested in Mr. Riley's business practices, Jasper announced, handing out copies of documents to key board members. As is the SEC. I suggest everyone who's invested with him contact their lawyers immediately. Duke tried to rally support. This is a setup. Cal Harding is trying to destroy me because his wife finally saw him for the controlling bastard he is. Really? Cal pointed to the screen, now showing Duke's private emails. Tell us about the other wives, Duke. Tell us about the offshore accounts where you hide their husband's money. Tell us about the building materials you claimed to buy but never did. Security finally arrived, but they stopped short, unsure who to remove. The board president stepped forward instead. Mr. Riley, consider your membership suspended pending investigation. He turned to the crowd. This event is over. Please exit in an orderly fashion. As the room emptied, Cal stood his ground, watching Bethany and Duke's world crumble in real time. She was crying now, mascara tracking down her cheeks. Why? She sobbed. Why do it like this? Because you tried to use my daughter to destroy me. Cal's voice was ice. Consider this a preview of what's coming. I'm not just going to divorce you, Bethany. I'm going to erase you. Duke attempted one last show of bravado. You think you're so clever? I've survived worse. My lawyers will. Your lawyers already know. Silas spoke up, showing his FBI badge. They're being questioned as we speak about their role in your fraud scheme. Cal straightened his tie and turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Bethany? Don't bother going home. The locks have been changed, and security won't let you in. I'm sure Duke has room at one of his properties. He smiled. For now, anyway. As Cal walked out with Jasper and Silas, the ballroom fell silent except for Bethany's sobs and the sound of Duke frantically dialing his phone. The next morning, headlines blazed across the city's news outlets. Techtheo exposes real estate fraud scheme. Prominent developer Duke Riley under federal investigation. Socialite wife caught in plot to frame husband. Cal sat in his office, watching the media frenzy unfold on multiple screens. Jasper entered with a thick stack of papers. Bethany's cards are canceled, accounts frozen, his lawyer reported. She tried to check into the Grand Hotel last night, but her credit was already dead. Had to call her parents to pay for a room. And Duke? His board called an emergency meeting at 6 a.m. They've suspended him as CEO. FBI raided his offices an hour ago. Jasper allowed himself a grim smile. The dominoes are falling exactly as planned. Cal nodded, then pulled up his calendar. Maisie has a dance recital this afternoon. I promised I'd be there. Go, Jasper urged. I'll handle the vultures. Besides, watching Duke and Bethany scramble is going to be entertaining enough. At the recital, Cal sat in the front row, recording his daughter's performance with a proud smile. Let Bethany and Duke deal with their imploding lives. His priority was right here, twirling on stage in a pink tutu. The war had begun, and he'd struck the first devastating blow. But this was just the beginning. By the time he was done, they would understand the true cost of betrayal. Chapter 5. The Counterattack. 2 weeks after the gala, Bethany sat in her lawyer's office, her designer outfit replaced by department store clothes. Her roots were showing through her blonde dye job, and her manicure was chipped. He's ruining me, she complained, pacing the cramped room. My cards don't work, my phone's cut off, I can't even access my own closet. Marcus Webb, a divorce attorney recommended by Duke, tried to project confidence. We've filed the restraining order. Once we convinced the judge that Cal's behavior is emotionally abusive. It's not working. Bethany slammed her hands on his desk. He has screenshots of everything. The videos, the emails, my messages with Duke. He's 10 steps ahead. Then we changed tactics. Marcus leaned forward. Start talking to your friends, your social circle. Paint him as controlling, manipulative. Create doubt about his story. I've tried, but he's got proof of everything. Actual proof. She collapsed into a chair. Do you know what happened when I called Susan to tell her Cal was abusive? She played me a recording of my own voice, planning the whole thing with Duke. Marcus frowned. How did Cal get these recordings? He's a tech genius, okay? He probably had everything bugged. She wrapped her arms around herself. Duke said he'd help, but he's got his own problems now. Indeed, across town, Duke Riley sat with his criminal defense team, surrounded by boxes of subpoenaed documents. They've frozen everything, he reported grimly. Personal accounts, business accounts, even my offshore safety nets. That bastard Cal found them all. His lead attorney, Patricia Chun, reviewed the evidence. The FBI has a solid paper trail. Money laundering, tax evasion, fraud? Mr. Riley, you're facing serious time unless we can make a deal. Then make one. Duke loosened his tie, sweat beading on his forehead. What about Cal's company? There must be something we can use against him. We've looked. TechCore Solutions is clean. Too clean. He must have scrubbed everything when he realized what was happening. Patricia set down the papers. Our best bet is to cooperate, provide information about other players in your schemes. You mean turn on my partners? Duke laughed bitterly. They'd kill me. You might not have a choice. The feds are interviewing everyone. Contractors, suppliers, even your personal staff. She met his eyes. They're building a RICO case, Mr. Riley. This isn't going away. Meanwhile, Cal sat in a conference room at TechCore, discussing the situation with his board. Stock prices are actually up, his CFO reported. The market sees you as a victim who exposed corruption. It's playing well. Keep our PR team on message, Cal instructed. We're not commenting on my personal situation, only expressing shock at Mr. Riley's alleged financial crimes. And Bethany's accusations? Let her talk. Cal pulled up a series of screenshots on the main screen. Each time she makes a claim, we release proof that she's lying. Her own words condemn her. His phone buzzed, a text from Silas. Be met with Duke at coffee shop. Recorded full conversation. You'll want to hear this. Cal smiled. They were getting sloppy, desperate, perfect. That evening, he picked up Maisie from school. She was quieter than usual. What's wrong, princess? She fidgeted with her backpack. Tommy at school said his mom told him you're mean to mommy. But I know that's not true. Cal pulled into a parking spot and turned to face her. Some people believe lies because they don't know the whole story. But you know the truth, don't you? She nodded. Mommy wanted me to tell lies about you. That's wrong. Yes, it is. He squeezed her hand. How about we get ice cream and you can tell me about your science project? As they sat in the ice cream parlor, Cal's phone lit up with news alerts. Riley development projects halted by federal pro. Investors file class action suit against Duke Riley. Socialite wife's abuse claims contradicted by new evidence. Bethany's desperation grew with each passing day. She tried calling their old friends, but phones went unanswered. Her social media posts claiming victimhood were met with screenshots of her own plots. Even her favorite boutiques suddenly couldn't find her appointments in their systems. She showed up at TechCore's offices, causing a scene in the lobby. "You can't hide from me," she screamed as security held her back. "I'm still your wife." Ka watched via security cameras, making no move to acknowledge her. Let her rage. Each outburst just proved his points about her instability. That night, Bethany met Duke in a cheap motel. All they could afford now. Both looked shabby, their polished veneers cracking. "We have to do something," she insisted. "He's destroying us." Duke took a swig from a bottle of cheap scotch. "My lawyers say I'm looking at 20 years unless I cooperate." 20 years, Beth? So cooperate. Tell them everything. About what? He laughed harshly. "Cal's clean. I had my best people look. No dirty deals. No hidden accounts, nothing. He's got us by the throat and he knows it." Bethany grabbed the bottle, drinking deeply. "I could take Maisie. Get her to tell the right story this time." "Are you insane?" Duke grabbed her arm. "You try that now, with all the evidence he has. They'll bury you." Unknown to them, a tiny device in the smoke detector captured every word. In his home office, Cal listened to the live feed, a cold smile playing on his lips. They were breaking, just as he planned. Now it was time to tighten the noose. Chapter 6. The Price of Betrayal. The headlines grew worse each day. Riley development files for bankrupts. FBI expands probe. Multiple wives involved in fraud scheme. Custody battle turns ugly. Mother's plot expose. Bethany grew desperate. Her parents, ashamed of the scandal, cut off financial support. Duke stopped answering her calls, focused on his own survival. She was running out of options. One afternoon, she waited outside Maisie's school, ignoring the restraining order Cal had obtained. When she spotted her daughter on the playground, she rushed forward. "Maisie, baby, come here." The girl froze, then backed away. "I'm not supposed to talk to you. I'm your mother." Bethany grabbed her arm. "You have to tell everyone the truth about Daddy. Remember what we practiced." "Let go." Maisie tried to pull away. "You wanted me to lie." "That's wrong." Teachers rushed over as Bethany grew more hysterical. "He's turned you against me. Your own mother." Security arrived, pulling her away as Maisie burst into tears. Cal, alerted by the school's call, found his daughter huddled in the counselor's office. "Daddy." She threw herself into his arms. "Mommy tried to make me lie again." He held her close, rage burning in his chest. "It's okay, princess. She won't bother you anymore." That evening, Cal sat with Jasper reviewing security footage of the incident. "This is it," his lawyer declared. "With this, we can terminate all her parental rights. No judge will grant access after she violated the restraining order." "Good." Cal's voice was cold. "I want her destroyed, Jazz. Completely and utterly. She's doing most of the work herself. The school incident, the public outbursts, the recorded plots with Duke." Jasper shook his head. "She's coming apart at the seams. And Duke? Trying to cut a deal with the feds. But his partners aren't happy about him talking. He's got bigger problems than Bethany now." Cal nodded, pulling up his email. "Send this to the prosecutors. Full records of his overseas accounts, connections to known criminals, everything. You're burning all his bridges." "That's the point." Cal's eyes were hard. "I want them both to have nothing and no one left." Meanwhile, Duke faced his own nightmare. His criminal associates were pressing him hard. "You can't testify," a burly man warned in a back alley meeting. You open your mouth, we open you. Duke wiped sweat from his face. What choice do I have? They've got everything. Not our problem. Keep quiet or else. The threat sent him running to the FBI, willing to tell all in exchange for protection. His testimony opened new investigations, dragging more of his associates into the mess. Bethany, desperate and alone, tried one last gambit. She appeared at Cal's house late at night, pounding on the door. "I know you're in there," she screamed. "You can't ignore me forever." Cal watched through security cameras as she grew more unhinged, ranting about their marriage and his betrayal. When she tried to break a window, he called the police. They found her with a rock in her hand, incoherent with rage. The arrest was caught on multiple cameras, adding another nail to her coffin. "I want to see my daughter," she screamed as officers led her away. "You can't keep her from me." Cal watched until the police car disappeared, then went to check on Maisie. She stood in her doorway, trembling. Was that Mommy? He knelt down to her level. "Yes, Princess, but you're safe. I promised to protect you, remember?" She hugged him tight. Why is she so angry? Sometimes people get angry when they make bad choices and have to face the consequences. He stroked her hair. "Try to get some sleep. I'll stay right here." The next morning, Jasper arrived with news about Duke. "He's talking to the feds," the lawyer reported, settling into Cal's office chair. "Naming names, providing documents. His old friends aren't happy." Cal's expression darkened. "How unhappy?" "He requested protective custody last night. Claims he's received death threats." Jasper handed over a file. His testimony mentions Bethany specifically. Says she was aware of the fraud scheme from the beginning. Perfect. Cal reviewed the documents. "Make sure the DA gets copies. I want her charged as an accessory." Across town, Duke sat in an interrogation room, spilling secrets to federal agents. "The River Street project was all fake," he admitted, hands shaking. "We inflated costs, fabricated invoices. Bethany helped create shell companies under her maiden name. And the other women?" An agent prompted. "Same pattern. Find unhappy wives, promise them luxury and excitement. Use their husbands' connections or resources." He wiped his face. Cal Harding wasn't supposed to be different. "We never thought he'd fight back like this." Meanwhile, Bethany faced a judge for her restraining order violation. "Your Honor, my client is simply a mother desperate to see her child," her lawyer argued. The prosecutor stood. A mother who was caught on video coaching that same child to make false abuse allegations, who violated a clear court order, who attempted to vandalize her husband's home. 3 days in jail, the judge ruled. And the restraining order is extended to include all forms of contact, including through third parties. Bethany's wails echoed through the courtroom as she was led away. Her fashionable life had devolved into an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. That evening, Cal received another anonymous package. Inside was surveillance footage of Bethany meeting Duke at a motel just days earlier, conspiring to find new ways to attack Cal's reputation. "Send copies to the DA," he instructed Silas over the phone, "and make sure her lawyer sees them. I want him to know exactly how hopeless her case is." The investigator grunted agreement. "She's spinning out of control, Cal. Duke too. You've got them cornered." "Good." Cal's voice was steel. "That's exactly where I want them." He ended the call and went to join Maisie for dinner. She was setting the table, trying to be extra helpful since Bethany's scene. "Can we have movie night, Daddy?" "Of course, Princess." He helped her with the plates. "You pick the movie." As they settled in to watch, Cal's phone buzzed with news alerts. Riley agrees to testify in fraud case. Socialite wife jailed for restraining order violation. Tech CEO's vindication. Evidence supports abuse setup claim. The pieces were falling perfectly into place. Duke was destroying himself to avoid prison, while Bethany's desperate actions only reinforced Cal's narrative. Their attempt to ruin him had backfired spectacularly. Cal looked at his daughter, peacefully watching her movie, and felt his resolve harden further. They had tried to use her as a weapon against him. Now he would make sure they paid the ultimate price for that betrayal. The war wasn't over, but Act 2 was reaching its climax. Bethany and Duke were learning the hard way that crossing Cal Harding was the biggest mistake of their lives. Their world was crumbling, their reputations in tatters, their futures bleak. And Cal was far from finished with them. Chapter 7. The Final Gambit. Cal sat in his office at TechCore, multiple screens displaying the ruins of Duke Riley's empire. Financial reports, court documents, and news articles painted a picture of total destruction. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. The IRS task force is ready, Silas reported, placing a thick folder on Cal's desk. They're just waiting for the final piece. Cal opened the folder, examining the detailed records of Duke's shell companies. Send it. All of it. I want federal agents at his door by morning. Silas nodded, then hesitated. There's something else. Duke's been meeting with some unsavory characters. The kind that solve problems permanently, if you know what I mean. Let him try. Cal's voice held no fear. We have everything recorded. One move against me, and he'll face additional charges. That evening, Duke sat in a dimly lit bar, meeting with a man known only as Martinez. The criminal's face bore scars that spoke of violence. I need this problem handled, Duke slurred, pushing an envelope across the table. Cal Harding. He's ruining everything. Martinez opened the envelope, counted the bills, then slid it back. Not enough. Besides, he's too high profile now. You want him gone? Do it yourself. You don't understand. Duke grabbed Martinez's arm. I'm losing everything. The scarred man removed Duke's hand, twisting until the developer whimpered. No, you don't understand. Harding's got protection, professional security, and from what I hear, he's got dirt on half the city. Touch him, you'll disappear. Now get out. While Duke drowned his sorrows, Cal launched his next attack. He sent the comprehensive file to the IRS and SEC, detailing years of tax evasion and securities fraud. The evidence was irrefutable. His phone rang. Jasper. Just got word, his lawyer reported. Federal agents hit all of Duke's properties simultaneously. They're seizing everything. Any resistance? He wasn't home, but they found his private servers. The encryption didn't hold up. Cal smiled coldly. Have our team start analyzing the data. I want to know everyone he's ever worked with, every deal he's ever made. Already on it. But there's more. Bethany's been busy too. Tell me. She tried accessing your company servers. Failed, obviously. But she's desperate. Dangerous. Cal pulled up the security feeds from his home. Maisie was doing homework in the kitchen while Mrs. Chin, the nanny he'd hired, prepared dinner. Everything normal, everything secure. Let her try, he said. Each attempt just gives us more ammunition. He switched screens to view Bethany's current location. His ex-wife sat in a cheap motel room, her designer lifestyle replaced by discount store clothes and fast food wrappers. She was typing furiously on a laptop, probably composing more lies about him. Cal opened his email and began composing a message to her. Bethany. Attached is footage of your latest motel meeting with Duke. Also attached are records of your involvement in his financial schemes. The FBI has copies. You tried to destroy me. Used our daughter as a weapon. Now watch as I dismantle everything you thought you could achieve. This is far from over. Cal. He included video clips showing her coaching Maisie to lie, documentation of her role in Duke's fraud, and bank records proving her complicity. Each piece of evidence another nail in her coffin. Across town, Bethany opened the email. Her face went pale as she watched the videos, saw the proof of her own destruction laid out in precise detail. She grabbed her phone, dialing Duke's number. No answer. She tried his lawyer. Straight to voicemail. Even her own attorney had stopped taking her calls. In desperation, she called her parents. Mom, please, she begged. I need help. Cal's destroying everything. You destroyed everything yourself, her mother replied coldly. We saw the videos, Beth. How could you use Maisie like that? You don't understand. Duke promised. Duke? That criminal? He's probably going to prison, and you might join him. Don't call us again. The line went dead. Bethany screamed, throwing her phone against the wall. Meanwhile, Cal reviewed the latest report from his legal team. Jasper had systematically dismantled every attempt Bethany made to salvage her reputation. Her false abuse claims were exposed. Her lies about Cal's business practices were disproven. Her attempts to manipulate Maisie were documented and condemned. Mr. Harding, His assistant buzzed. The FBI agents are here for your statement about Mr. Riley's operations. Send them in. 2 agents entered, notebooks ready. Cal spent the next hour detailing Duke's criminal enterprise, providing dates, names, and documentation. He painted a picture of corruption so complete that escape would be impossible. One more thing, he said as they prepared to leave. You'll want to look into these accounts. He handed them a flash drive. They show my wife's involvement in the scheme. Former wife, he corrected himself with a cold smile. That night, as Cal tucked Maisie into bed, she asked a question that made his heart ache. Daddy, will I ever see Mommy again? He sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes, Princess, people make choices that have big consequences. Your mom made some very bad choices because she tried to make me lie? Yes, and other things too. But you never have to worry. I'll always be here to protect you. After Maisie fell asleep, Cal returned to his study. He opened his laptop to review the day's progress. Duke's empire was crumbling, federal agents dismantling it piece by piece. Bethany was isolated, her resources drained, her reputation ruined. But it wasn't enough. They had tried to destroy him, tried to use his daughter against him. The price for such betrayal would be complete and absolute. He pulled up a new document and began typing. Phase 2 of their destruction was about to begin. Chapter 8, The Endgame. The conference room at TechCore buzzed with activity as Cal and Jasper prepared their final assault. Multiple screens displayed evidence against Bethany and Duke, financial records, surveillance photos, email exchanges, phone transcripts. The presentation is ready, Jasper announced, organizing documents. Once this goes public, there's no coming back for either of them. Cal reviewed the material one last time. Send copies to all major news outlets. I want this story impossible to ignore. What about Bethany's parents? They've been asking to see Maisie. They knew about the affair. Encouraged it. Cal's voice turned glacial. Show them what happens to everyone who helped plot against me. Across the city, Duke sat in a federal holding cell, his designer suit replaced by prison orange. His lawyer delivered the latest news. They have everything, Mr. Riley. The offshore accounts, the fake construction contracts, the bribes. They're pushing for maximum sentences. Duke grabbed the prison phone. Call Bethany. She has to help me. Mrs. Harding, former Mrs. Harding, isn't taking calls. She's got her own problems. The feds are building a case against her too. Then call my board members. My business partners. They're all running for cover. No one wants to be associated with you anymore. In her motel room, Bethany watched her world implode on the evening news. Breaking tonight. New evidence reveals the full scope of the Riley development fraud scheme, the anchor announced. Documents show systematic corruption, including the involvement of Bethany Harding, who recently made headlines for attempting to frame her husband for abuse. Her phone buzzed with a text from Cal. Watch carefully. This is what happens to people who betray me. She changed channels. Same story. Her social media accounts flooded with condemnation. Former friends posted messages denouncing her. The charity board she'd sat on publicly removed her name. Desperate, she drove to her parents' house. They refused to open the door. Mom, Dad, please. Through the window, she saw them on the phone with Cal's lawyer. Later that day, they were served with papers. Cal was suing them for their role in the conspiracy. At TechCore, Cal received updates on the fallout. Duke's facing 30 years minimum, Silas reported. His partners are turning on each other, exposing more crimes. The feds are ecstatic. And Bethany? Charges pending for conspiracy, fraud, and perjury, plus civil suits from your company and several banks. She'll lose everything. Cal nodded, satisfaction cold in his chest. Her parents. The lawsuit hit them hard. They're trying to sell their house before the courts freeze their assets. His intercom buzzed. Mr. Harding? Mrs. Chun called. Maisie got an A on her science project. For the first time that day, Cal's smile held warmth. Tell her I'll be home for dinner. We'll celebrate. That evening, news channels aired Cal's carefully prepared presentation. It detailed years of corruption, featuring audio recordings, financial documents, and video evidence. The story went viral instantly. Social media exploded. Can't believe Bethany Harding tried to frame her husband. Duke Riley going down. Justice served. Who uses their own child like that? Disgusting. Bethany watched from her motel room as her reputation disintegrated. Her phone filled with messages from former friends. How could you? Stay away from my family. You're dead to us. She tried calling Duke's lawyer one last time. Please, there must be something we can do. Mrs. Harding, Mr. Riley is cooperating with federal authorities. He's telling them everything about your involvement. What? No. He promised. I'm sorry. You should hire a criminal defense attorney. Meanwhile, Cal sat with Maisie in their new home, helping her with homework while Mrs. Chun prepared dinner. The space was warm, secure, free from the toxicity Bethany had brought. Daddy, Maisie asked, why are people saying bad things about Mommy on TV? Sometimes the truth has to come out, Princess. Remember what we said about lying? She nodded solemnly. It's wrong, and it hurts people. That's right. Your mom made bad choices, and now she has to face the consequences. Later that night, Cal received a final report from Silas. Duke had broken completely, confessing to everything. Bethany faced multiple criminal charges. Her parents were filing for bankruptcy. He opened his laptop and typed a message to Jasper. Release the last batch of evidence. Show them what total destruction looks like. The next morning's headlines marked the end. Duke Riley pleads guilty. Faces 30-year. Bethany Harding charged in fraud scheme. Techno's revenge. A story of justice. Cal had promised them destruction. Now they understood exactly what that meant. Chapter 9. The New Dawn. 6 months later, Cal sat in his expanded office at TechCore, reviewing the final reports of his victory. Duke Riley had been sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. His empire was dismantled, his assets seized, his name synonymous with corruption. Bethany's fate was equally complete. Found guilty of multiple charges, she lost everything: money, reputation, freedom. Even her parents had been forced to sell their home, their retirement savings drained by legal fees and Cal's relentless lawsuits. A knock at his door. Jasper with the latest updates. Duke's appeal was denied, his lawyer reported. He's been transferred to maximum security after that failed escape attempt. Cal nodded, unsurprised. Bethany accepted a plea deal. 10 years, plus restitution. She'll never recover financially. Her parents, living in a small apartment in Florida. Their social circle completely shunned them. Jasper placed a final document on Cal's desk. The divorce is officially final. Full custody of Maisie, no visitation rights for Bethany. Cal signed the paper, completing his ex-wife's eradication from their lives. Anyone else who helped them? All handled. Their friends, business associates, everyone who knew about their plans. All facing consequences. He stood, gathering his things. Then we're done here. I'm taking Maisie to her dance recital. The transformation of their lives was complete. Cal had moved them to a new home in a secured community. Mrs. Chun, the nanny, provided stability and warmth. Maisie was thriving in her new school. Her grades improved, her smile returned. That evening, as they sat in their living room after the recital, Maisie curled up next to him with a book. Read to me, Daddy. He took the book, his voice gentle, a tone reserved solely for her. The story was about a princess who saved herself, who learned to be strong and true. As she drifted off to sleep, Cal reflected on their journey. He had emerged victorious, his enemies destroyed, his daughter protected. The cost had been high, but necessary. No one would ever again mistake his kindness for weakness. His phone buzzed, a news alert. Duke had been found unconscious in his cell, apparently beaten by other inmates. Cal deleted the notification without concern. Actions had consequences. Another message. Bethany had tried to appeal her sentence. Denied. Her new life consisted of a prison cell and the knowledge that she had lost everything that mattered. Cal carried Maisie to her bed, tucking her in carefully. In sleep, she looked peaceful, untouched by the chaos her mother had tried to bring. I love you, Princess, he whispered. I'll always protect you. Returning to his study, he opened his safe and removed a file. Inside were copies of everything. the evidence, the recordings, the proof of betrayal. He would keep it forever, a reminder of what happened to those who crossed him. Cal Harding had built his empire on integrity and determination. When they tried to destroy him, he showed them exactly who he was, not just a successful businessman, but a force of vengeance that gave no mercy to traitors. The night was quiet, but he didn't need noise. The silence spoke of victory, of enemies vanquished, of a future secured. He had accomplished what he promised, total destruction of those who betrayed him. His new life stretched ahead, strong and uncompromised. Let his story be a warning to others. Never mistake a good man's kindness for weakness. Never betray someone who built himself from nothing. And never, ever, try to use a child against her father. Cal looked at Maisie's latest school photo on his desk and allowed himself a small smile. They had tried to break him, but instead, he had broken them. Completely, permanently, without mercy. It was done. Epilogue. 10 years later. The skyline of the city had changed, but TechCore's headquarters still dominated the business district. The building had doubled in size, its gleaming exterior a testament to Cal Harding's continued success. Inside his top-floor office, Cal reviewed the quarterly reports with the same sharp attention he'd always shown. At 52, he'd aged well. His hair had touches of gray at the temples, adding gravitas to his appearance. His eyes retained their intensity, though the lines around them spoke of both laughter and stern determination. TechCore had expanded globally, its value increasing tenfold since the days of Bethany's betrayal. Dad. Cal looked up to see Maisie in his doorway. At 20, she was a striking young woman, carrying herself with the confidence of someone who'd learned early about strength and resilience. She was home from college, where she studied computer science and business, following in her father's footsteps while crafting her own path. "Come in, princess." The nickname had stuck, though she'd long outgrown its childish origins. "The foundation board is waiting," she reminded him. After the dust settled from Bethany and Duke's destruction, Cal had established the Harding Foundation for Children of Broken Homes, turning his personal tragedy into a force for good. Maisie served on the board during her college breaks. 5 minutes, he promised, closing his laptop. "How's the new scholarship program coming along?" "We've selected the first 50 recipients. All kids from situations like mine. Parents who tried to use them as weapons in divorces." She settled into a chair. "It's making a real difference, Dad." Cal nodded, pride evident in his expression. The foundation was part of his legacy, helping children while serving as a constant reminder to the world of what Bethany had tried to do. "Have you heard the latest about Duke?" Maisie asked, her tone neutral. "Jasper mentioned something. Fill me in." "He tried for parole again." "Denied. Obviously. The parole board said he hasn't shown genuine remorse." She paused. "He's still got 25 years to go." Cal's expression didn't change. Duke Riley's downfall remained total and complete. The once prominent developer now resided in a maximum security prison, his health failing, his fortune gone. He tried writing a book about his experiences, but Cal's lawyers had shut it down, citing confidentiality agreements Duke had signed years ago. "And your mother?" Cal asked carefully. They rarely discussed Bethany, but he never hid information from his daughter. "Released last month. She tried to contact me through social media." Maisie's voice held no emotion. "I blocked her." Bethany's decade in prison had been just the beginning of her punishment. Upon release, she found herself in a world where her name was toxic. No one would hire her. Her former social circle shunned her completely. She lived in a halfway house, working minimum wage jobs, her designer lifestyle a distant memory. "You know you can always talk to Dr. Sanders about it," Cal reminded her, referring to the family therapist who'd helped them process the trauma years ago. "I know, Dad, but I'm okay." "Really?" She stood, smoothing her blazer. "The foundation board's waiting." "Coming." As they walked to the conference room, Cal reflected on the years since his revenge had played out. He'd kept his promise, not only destroying Bethany and Duke, but ensuring their destruction was permanent. Jasper still served as TechCore's chief legal counsel, his loyalty rewarded with a partnership track and generous stock options. He'd expanded the legal department to handle the company's international growth while maintaining an iron grip on anything related to the old cases. "Cal, Maisie. Jasper greeted them in the conference room. At 65, he'd reduced his workload but remained sharp as ever. Just got word about Bethany's latest attempt to rebuild her life. Oh. Cal's eyebrow raised slightly. She tried opening a small business. One of those online boutiques. Jasper's smile was cold. Our monitors flagged it. Turns out she violated her parole by not disclosing the business venture. She's back under investigation. Cal nodded, unsurprised. The monitoring systems he'd put in place years ago still tracked anything related to Bethany or Duke. Any attempt they made to rise from the ashes was swiftly crushed. The Foundation Board meeting proceeded smoothly. They approved funding for new programs, reviewed success stories, and discussed expansion plans. Maisie presented her proposals with confidence, her academic excellence matched by her business acumen. Later that evening, Cal hosted a small dinner party at his home. The modest mansion sat on a secured estate, its grounds carefully monitored. Mrs. Chun, now retired but still part of the family, had helped prepare the meal before returning to her cottage on the property. Silas attended, his investigative agency now one of the most respected in the country. He'd parlayed his work on the Bethany Duke case into major corporate contracts, though he maintained a special relationship with TechCore. Remember Duke's old building on River Street? Silas asked over dinner. It's being demolished next week. City's putting in a community center. Fitting, Cal replied. The Riley development empire had been systematically erased from the city landscape. Each property sold, renamed, or repurposed. His former partners are still serving time, Silas continued. The ones that survived, anyway. Several of Duke's criminal associates had met unfortunate ends in prison, though Cal had maintained careful distance from those events. The conversation turned to happier topics. Maisie's upcoming internship at a tech startup, not TechCore, she insisted on making her own way. The Foundation's growing influence. Cal's recent acceptance of a Distinguished Business Leadership Award. After dinner, Cal found Maisie in his study, looking at old photographs. One showed her at age 10, just before everything fell apart. Do you ever regret how thoroughly you destroyed them? She asked, her voice thoughtful. Cal joined her at the desk. They tried to destroy us first. Used you as their weapon. Some crimes deserve complete retribution. Mom's sister tried to contact me too, Maisie revealed. Said Mom's really changed, that she deserves a chance to apologize. That's your decision to make now, Cal said carefully. You're old enough to choose. I chose years ago, Dad. Maisie's voice hardened. She taught me to lie, tried to send you to prison, all so she could run off with Duke. Some things are unforgivable. Cal squeezed her shoulder gently. She'd grown into a remarkable young woman, strong, ethical, and clear-eyed about the past. The next morning, Cal's assistant brought in the daily reports. Buried among business updates was news about Bethany's former parents. They died within months of each other in their tiny Florida apartment, never recovering from the financial ruin Cal's lawsuits had brought. Their funeral was sparsely attended, their once proud social status another casualty of betrayal's price. Cal had maintained his position as a respected business leader, his personal tragedy transformed into a story of resilience and justice. The media occasionally tried dredging up the past, but his PR team managed the narrative skillfully. He was the wronged husband who'd fought back, the devoted father who'd protected his child, the businessman whose integrity had triumphed over corruption. TechCore's success continued unabated. Cal had diversified into new technologies, his company at the forefront of several emerging fields. The wealth and power he'd accumulated ensured that neither Bethany nor Duke could ever pose a threat again, even if they somehow recovered from their downfall. That afternoon, he attended a board meeting at one of the city's most prestigious private schools. They'd named a STEM center after him, funded by the Harding Foundation. The irony wasn't lost on him. The man Bethany had tried to destroy now shaped the education of future generations. His phone buzzed with a message from Jasper. Bethany's parole violation confirmed. She's facing another year of supervision, plus fines she can't pay. Want us to pursue civil penalties? Cal typed back, full pressure. No mercy. Some would call it overkill, this continued pursuit of total destruction. But Cal had learned early that mercy to traitors was weakness. His response to betrayal had become legendary in business circles, a cautionary tale about crossing the wrong man. That evening, he watched Maisie practicing at his private gym. She'd taken up martial arts years ago, building physical strength to match her mental resilience. Her instructor praised her discipline, unaware of the deep motivations behind her training. Movie night, she suggested after her workout, a tradition they'd maintained since those dark days. Your pick, princess. They settled in the media room, the space comfortable but secure like everything in Cal's life now. His security team maintained discreet surveillance. His technology monitored potential threats. His lawyers stood ready to crush any attempt at retaliation. Dad, Maisie said during a quiet moment, I'm proud of us, of how we survived, how we thrived. Cal looked at his daughter, his greatest achievement, his strongest motivation, the one pure thing to emerge from that time of betrayal. We did more than survive, he replied. We showed the world what happens to those who mistake kindness for weakness. The years had proven him right. Total destruction of his enemies had brought total peace to his life. Bethany and Duke's attempt to destroy him had led to their own annihilation, their fates a perpetual warning to others who might consider betrayal. Cal Harding had kept his promises to protect his daughter, to destroy his enemies, to ensure their punishment was permanent and complete. His legacy was secured, his victory absolute, his revenge eternal. The world had learned its lesson. Never cross a man who values loyalty above all else, who meets betrayal with destruction, who shows no mercy to those who would harm his family. In his climate-controlled wine cellar, a bottle of 20-year scotch sat unopened. The same brand he'd drunk the night he discovered Bethany's betrayal. He was saving it for a special occasion, though he hadn't decided which one yet. Perhaps he'd open it when Duke died in prison, or when Bethany finally broke completely. Or maybe he'd share it with Maisie on her wedding day, a reminder of how far they'd come, how completely they'd triumphed. The future stretched ahead, bright with promise. Cal had built an empire on the ashes of betrayal, turned tragedy into triumph, and ensured that his story would be told for generations, not just as a tale of revenge, but as a testament to the price of treachery and the power of ruthless justice. The security system hummed quietly, its cameras monitoring the perimeter. In his office, computers tracked his former enemy's continued downfall, and in his heart, the cold satisfaction of complete victory remained undiminished by time. Cal Harding had won not just the battle, but the entire war. His enemies were destroyed, his daughter was thriving, and his legacy was secured. It was, he reflected, exactly the ending they all deserved. The night deepened, but Cal remained awake, reviewing reports and planning future expansions. Like always, he would stay vigilant, not because he feared retaliation. His enemies were far too broken for that, but because vigilance had kept him safe, kept him strong, kept him victorious. In the end, that victory was absolute, just as he'd promised it would be. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.